All right, welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to the Rockman Startline Ready Live. My name is Marcus Barton. I will be your lead coach for the Rockman Startline Ready. I do apologize for the technical difficulty here. What we're trying something new, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to not only give you the live on the Circle app, but we're also live streaming across YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. So a little bit of an issue there. If you aren't actively asking a question, we'd ask it if you go on mute, because we do have a lot of people on the call today, and we want to make sure that everyone gets the audio that is necessary through the program. I'd like to introduce you to the team. As your team, as part of the Rockman Startline Ready, again, my name is Marcus Barton. I will be the lead coach for this particular program. Give you a little background about me. I started with Swimrun back in 2015, with Rockman being my very first swim run. That's how I was introduced to the sport. I've been hooked on it ever since. I later got pulled into helping out with Rockman by Tor, which we'll talk about and introduce Tor here in a second. And then ever since then, I've been either racing it or helping to put the event on, or both. I'm also an on-vol coach. So we thought that it would make sense that as part of the Rockman Startline Ready, that I could provide you some of that capability. So in addition to that, we've also got Nicholas Ramirez, our head coach, who's not only the head coach and co-owner of Onvol, but he's also a Rockman winner. He's done Rockman several times, and he's also won that race. So he's in the background. I will be kind of running the program for the Startline Ready program. He'll be joining in as needed. But if you don't see him or hear from him, he's in the background helping create this great training program for you as well, given his experience. And then, of course, on the line, we've got Katerina. Katerina is not only a co-owner of Onvol, but she's also a Rockman finisher. So you can kind of see a little bit of a trend here. And then from the race directing team, the head race director, Tor Hisselberg, who is got pulled into race directing that race after racing it. He will be racing it again this year, so we're pretty excited to have him on the start line. And he is also an Onvol member. And then, of course, myself, I'm a co-race director for the race. Tor's pulled me in to help mark the course and help with some of the behind-the-scenes issues. I've kind of flip-flopped back and forth whether I'd done the race or done completely behind the scenes. But I've done the race 4 times, and I can't wait for my 5th. We also have on the line Trista Menon, who is a co-race director and has also finished Rockman. Can you see the trend? So, and we've brought in 2 additional folks. Tor's brought in 2 additional folks, both Ruben and Lloyd, who are co-race directors, and they've also raced 4 times. So we've got a really tight-knit group here, tight-knit family, a lot of experience, not only from behind the scenes, but being on the start line and racing the race that we're going to bring to this program. So if you're already an Onvol member, these are some of the resources that you have available to you. If you're looking to join the Rockman Startline Ready program and take advantage of this group training, this is the big team that you have as your background. This is the big team that you have that's here and available to help you with this race. So with that said, let's take a look at the agenda, what we're going to talk about today. So today is a free live event that we've invited not only Onvol members to attend, but also outside folks to come in and take a look at the Rockman Startline Ready program and what it can do for you. This is going to be an interactive session. In a few minutes, we're going to start talking about the race itself. We'll start talking about how we can help you, and we open the floor up for questions that you want to ask of us. But first, what we're going to talk about is the Startline Ready, how it works, how that program works, how it fits into the Onvol family of services that's provided as part of an Onvol member. And then we're going to get into a high-level overview of Rockman itself. I'll show you the map. I'll show you what it looks like. And the reason that I'm going to show you and give you a little bit of a high-level overview of Rockman is because it works into the next couple of bullets that we have on our agenda. Why is general endurance fitness not enough for Rockman? A lot of people, hey, I'm a triathlete. I've done open water swims. I'm good at running. I've done marathons. I've done ultra running. Why is that maybe not all you need to be ready for Rockman? So we'll talk about that after we get through the course. Mistakes that athletes make. Months. Like, you need to start preparing now, and hence why we're starting up this program now. You have to start preparing months before race day. You can't wait until a couple of weeks out or the week of the race to get ready. So we'll talk about the mistakes that most athletes make. And then also what first timers who don't really know or haven't really seen Rockman, some of the common things that they consistently underestimate. And that not only goes for the first timers, but also people who have raced Rockman and they're coming back. What is it that those returning athletes, as they're coming back, what is it that they still get wrong? What is it that we can help you with to make sure that you're ready? And what does ready mean? Right. So we'll get all to that here in a second. But first, let's talk about the Rockman Startline Ready program and how it fits into the agenda, or as it fits into the Envol family of coaching that we can provide. This is not meant to be a sales call, so I'm just going to touch base on these, and then if you want more information, you can hit us up after. But if you join Team Envol as an Envol member, and that gets you access to a lot of different features and functionality within the Envol family. First of all, you get the community, and that is above and beyond the biggest benefit of being an Envol member, hands down. Being a part of this swim run community, this community of athletes that share this passion for swim run, that not only share this passion for swim run, but sports in general, being able to talk to each other and experience these races together and being able to help each other out, ask questions and whatnot. That global swim run community that you have available to you via the Circle app, via the WhatsApp groups, via the chat sessions, via email, via seeing people in person. That's the biggest benefit of being an Envol member, is having that global swim run community. But you also have discounts and training plans that are available to you. Again, not going to read this slide to you. You can check this out on your own. But that's where you start with Team Envol if you want to become a member, is that basic membership. And then if you want some, in addition to just having plans that are available for you, the basic training plans that get dropped into Training Peaks, and you have to do it on your own. If you want the next step up, that's where Startline Ready comes into play. It is group coaching. Think of the concept of a bunch of people that are all going to go do the same race. So therefore, we all jump into this group and we all follow a training program that gets them prepared for that race. And that training program is basically what we feel everyone needs to be Startline ready. Now, it's going to vary from person to person. You're going to have some folks that are more experienced than others, or some people that are more fit than others and whatnot. But we'll talk about in the group chats and the monthly live sessions that we do. But it gives you access to a coach via the WhatsApp group. Also gives you those monthly race specific webinars that we get together. Basically, what we're doing today, gives you access to that group chat and be able to ask your questions and talk about the next block of training that we're doing and what that next block of training is goal to get you and how to get you prepared. But not only that, but be able to have that community as well. So you get the race specific group coaching, you get that monthly webinar, and you get that group race specific training plan in Training Peaks. And then of course you get discounts for add-ons if you want some other coaching and whatnot. And then if you want to take it to the next step above group coaching, like Startline Ready, we have both a 101 basic and a 101 complete, where you get 101 time with a coach. So you can see kind of where Startline Ready fits into the scheme of things. If you do decide to go on to 101 coaching as a 101 basic or 101 complete coached athlete, you also have access to Startline Ready. So I have 101 athletes that are going to do Rockman, and they're probably going to hop into the chat sessions. They're probably going to hop into the webinars and be part of that discussion. But there's one thing that I left out as part of Startline Ready, and you may have seen it on some of the videos that we've shared and on social media and whatnot, is that you're not just here to learn from me or the other coaching staff. You're here to also learn from each other. We're going to have experienced athletes that are part of this group, and we're going to have first timers as part of that group. So we're here to help each other out. And so some of those experienced athletes that have been there before can provide feedback and answer questions and their perspective, which is vitally important when it comes to this group training program. So that's where Startline Ready kind of fits in. But let's go back to the agenda for a second. So I want to highlight these specific 5 bullets on the agenda. And we mentioned it before. I'm not going to read them to you again. This is all the stuff that you want to try and figure out before you actually get to Rockman. This is what the Rockman Startline Ready program is really all about. We won't get into detail about the type of training that we're going to do, or we're not going to show you a training plan or anything like that on today's session, but we're going to talk about these specific things. And in order to know what these specific things are, we have to talk about the Rockman race itself. So let's take a look at the Rockman overview. The best way that I feel that I can do that is to actually open up a window and go to the Rockman race site. So on the Rockman Swimrun race site, can get my glasses on. On the Rockman race site, you'll see a lot of information. You'll see the schedule. But what most athletes start to get into is they look at the race course. So there are 3 different race courses available for Rockman. There's a 40K race course. There is a 20K race course, and then there is also a 10K race course. Notice that we didn't call them long course, short course, or beginner course, because it really isn't that. So there tends to be a misnomer of when you say long course, short course, most people think short course is easier, and it definitely is not. The short course is just shorter. It's not any easier. And this 10K course is not a beginner course. This is I only want to do 10K, but I want to test out my ability to do Rockman. I want to see if Rockman is the type of race that I want to do. It is definitely not easier, and it's definitely not what I would consider a beginner course. Can you get through that 10K course with less fitness? Absolutely. But don't expect it to be a cakewalk, because it definitely is not. So when you look at this race and you see this race course, if you're unfamiliar with the Norway terrain, this may look pretty simple. It may look like any other swim run out there, but I disagree, and that's why I'm going to pull up this. So as part of the course, I want you to be able to see sort of what the dimensions of this course looks like in a 3-dimensional aspect. So let's zoom in here to the start. So as part of this start, if we look at it from a 2-dimensional view, I'll start off with the 40K and I'll work into the 20K and the 10K, but this is the 40K start. So you start off by jumping off of a ferry and then swimming towards Fantahela, which is, if you know anything about Rockman, there's a mythic figure which is named Rockman, who was born and raised in Fantahela. So we're going to start off where Rockman was born, at Fantahela. Now, from a 2-dimensional view, that looks very, very simple. But if we take a look at this, zoom out a little bit, and look at it from a 3-dimensional view, you'll see that it's quite different. So we're going to jump into the water, swim up into the cove of Fantahela, and then swim out and over to a dock, and then begin a long climb up to Botnet. And then from there, you're going to swim over an island, and then another small swim, and then you're going to climb up what we call the hidden path. The hidden path is quite a bit of rocky, wooded climbing. It's very technical. You won't see too many people running up this. It's going to be a hard climb. And then as we make our way up, we're going to head up and over to another swim. You can kind of see what the terrain's looking like there, over to Trapovatnet. This year we called that the Foggy Lake because it was very foggy when swimmers and racers approached this lake. If you've done this race before, if you did it this year and you experienced the Trapovatnet, you can see we changed that swim up a little bit. But again, we'll talk about that more in depth as part of the Rockman Startline Ready. Then you're going to make your way over through this intersection and towards what we call Prikkestelen or Pulpit Rock. Now, I will say that as this part of the 3D map, it is not very realistic. So there is not a huge descent down here to Prikkestelen. It's actually It's a little bit of a descent, but not quite as this is depicting. So you'll go over to Prickastolin. If you're familiar with Prickastolin, this is a lot of cliffside running. So the video that I showed at the beginning, where we're running along the cliffs, a lot of that is filmed right here. So that's Prickastolin. And then you're going to come back to this intersection. And then if I spin it around, you're going to come back to this intersection, then dive down into this valley. You're going to dive into this valley. Very, very technical trail run / power hike down to Skagavatnet, a short swim across Skagavatnet. And then you'll proceed your way to Botley along the sides of these cliffs. You get some beautiful views of the fjord from these cliffs. And if you can look down, you can kind of see your way towards Fleury, is where we're headed. But you'll do a very, very technical descent down to Botley. And you can see it's kind of a switchback descent down into the fjord. And then a long swim over to Bakken. Now here is where the 20K course joins up with the 40K course. So the 20K course racers will also get a ferry jump start right about where my mouse is. They'll jump in and then swim over to Bakken and then pick up the course with the 40K racers. This next section is what we call the Seaside Sprint. If you don't know what the Seaside Sprint about, if you haven't heard about the Seaside Sprint, I'll give you a little tip. There's not much sprinting going on right here. So it's kind of a mean joke that you won't be doing much sprinting. As you can see, there's lots of scree fields, rocky paths and whatnot along the Seaside Sprint. Right over to Songasan. And then from Songasan, you're going to pick up a road. So this is the only paved section of the course. You'll pick up this road run all the way up to the farmer's land. And then once you come off of the road here onto the farmer's land, you send down his backyard and to the long fjord crossing. And if you look there, you can kind of see the kind of views that you're going to get as you're swimming across the Fleury, across this swim. So this is a 1,600, 1,700 meter swim over to Fleury. Once you get the Fleury, that's when you start the 444 stair climb. This you'll get some beautiful.
Did we lose Marcus?
So the 10K coursers will jump into the fjord. Again, they're getting a ferry start. So they'll get a ferry start, jump into Fleury or into the fjord, swim over the Fleury, and then start the stairs as their first run.
Hey, Marcus.
The Fleury loop.
Marcus?
Yep.
Hey, sorry. I just would like to make a recommendation. I don't know if it's for everyone, but when you move the map around a lot, I think it takes a lot of the bandwidth and it's hard to hear the audio and you just kind of glitched out for a second. I think it's just trying really hard to see the map. So if you want to back it up and just start with the start at Fleury for the 10K, if you will.
Okay. So I'll zoom out here. I'll quit moving the map, and I think that'll probably help. So
yeah, maybe if you just move the mouse, that might work better.
Yeah. The 10K coursers jump into the fjord right here, right outside of Fleury. They'll have a swim to Fleury, and then they'll join in with the 20K and 40K racers as you start the 4,444 stair climb up the mountain. There's two short 300 meter and 200 meter swims at the top of the mountain, and then you'll descend down some beautiful technical single track. And as you can see, right before you get back to Fleury, it gets into this really steep technical descent back into Fleury. And then once you get into the village of Fleury, you run along the edge of the water out the edge, and then jump into the fjord for one last short swim back to Fleury and then the finish line. So The key thing I wanted to show here is that this is not a flat course. This is not flat and it is not easy. The only easy part of this course is that short road run that you have from Song of Sand up to the farmer's land. But it is a very, very difficult course, as you can see. So, as we're talking about this course, keep in mind, or as we're talking about the agenda, keep in mind what we're trying to get you through here is we're trying to get you through this race in the most enjoyable way possible. So, let's talk about these 5 bullets again. So, why is it that general fitness is not enough for Rockman? As you can see, it boils down to two things, two primary things in what I think is A, yes, you can be fit, but if you're fit in the wrong ways, you would have a difficulty. If you're used to flat road running, if you're used to marathon training, you might not be prepared for the amount of climbing that is in Rockman. So if I flip back over here to the courses, you can see the 40K course consists of about 2,400 meters of elevation gain for the Americans in English in the room. That's pretty close to 9,000 feet. So quite a bit of climbing as it pertains to this race. So maybe you might not be strong enough climbing wise. And I specifically put the picture of the Florley stairs in the background so you can see that we've got this very, very steep climb on these stairs that you have to be ready for. So general endurance fitness might not be enough. You may also need some strength fitness thrown in there. And then obviously a lot of climbing as part of your program. The other aspect of that is that you've got to have some technical training. You've got to have technical training on your calendar. It needs to be programmed in. It has to be purposeful. So we want to make sure that you're technically trained for the terrain as well. So it's not just general fitness. You need that strength, you need the climbing, and you need the technical. And we'll talk about more how you get that in the program, regardless of where you live. We've got people from Florida in the US that's flat, places flat as a pancake. How do they get that climbing fitness? Or maybe you don't have technical trails around. We can help you with how you get that as part of the program. And then some mistakes that athletes make months before race day, and that is waiting till the last minute to try and get some of that fitness, that climbing fitness, the strength fitness, and also the technical. So months before race day, you should be beginning your climbing. And usually, what happens is that athletes, if they don't start climbing now, what they try to do is do too much, too quickly, too close to the race, and that usually results in injury. Every every single year, we get racers contacting the race directors asking if they can defer because they got injured. Now, granted, there's a lot of different reasons that people get injured, but sometimes it boils down to, oh crap, I've got this race with 2,400 meters of climbing. I better start climbing, and they start climbing 2 weeks out, and that's not the time to do it. So, mistakes that athletes make months before race day is trying to too much volume too quickly, and then also trying to get in too much climbing too quickly. Another mistake that athletes make months out before race day kind of works itself into the second bullet. And so this bullet works itself into the third bullet as well, which is what they consistently underestimate. And that is, how much time am I going to be on course? So we've had back in 2024, we did the original course, which was a 50K course. And when you got to the top of the Florley stairs, there was a half marathon left on the course. It was all running. There was no swimming after you got to the top of the stairs and got through the swims at the top of the stairs. So there's a half marathon course left. And we had new people that came in and said, well, I can do a half marathon in an hour and a half. So when I get through those swims at the top of the stairs, I can probably have that race finished in an hour and a half. 4 hours, 5 hours later, they're still out on the course because of the technical aspect of the course. So first timers consistently underestimate the amount of time that it takes for them to finish this race. And that works itself into all kinds of problems. First of all, it works itself into problems of they're not training enough duration as part of their training program in order to be ready to be out there for that long. And the other aspect is it works into the planning. So if you underestimate how much time you're going to be on the course, then you also underestimate how much fueling you need to take with you, how much food, how many gels, what type of fueling you should be practicing and planning. So having that consistently underestimate the amount of time it takes on a course is a huge problem. And that works itself back to the previous bullet of months before race day. If they don't start the amount of volume that they need leading up to the race because of the amount of time they're going to be on the course, then that runs into a problem and they end up not being ready for the race. And then for returning athletes, because it's not just about first timers, returning athletes, the kind of mistakes that they still consistently get wrong is a little bit more from a mental aspect. We've had folks do the race several times, and they always think that the race is going to happen the same way it did the previous time that they did it. And that is true from some aspect. And I guess it's also true from any swim run. If you've done Attila of the World Championships, every time that you do that race, it's generally different. And a lot of times the weather kind of works into that. Same thing with Rockman. So in 2024, we had beautiful weather. It started off beautiful, turned into rain late in the race. But last year we had real foggy, rainy conditions. The trails were streams. Every single one of the trail paths were, if it wasn't a stream, if it was flat, it was ankle deep in water. So the things that those returning athletes still seem to get wrong is being prepared for anything that the course can throw at you. And that's a mental game that we have to coach you as part of the group training program, is being prepared to be adaptable for those different situations and being ready for those different situations. So that's one thing I really see those returning athletes come in and really struggle with is that adaptability. So that's something that can be coached. So that's what our returning athletes still get wrong. So what does being ready really mean? What does it mean when you get to the start line? What does it mean to be ready for that race? And I think it's not only the coaching that happens from a mental aspect, but also the physical aspect. So making sure you have the proper training ready, but also knowing mentally exactly what's going to be thrown at you for that race day, and being ready to be adaptable and prepared for that race. And I think that comes not only from a coach, but it comes from each other, and it comes from lots of planning and being adaptable. So I'd like to turn this over into some question and answers, but before I do, let's talk specifically how the group training program helps you with those 5 bullets. So what we plan is between March and mid-May, we're going to have what we consider a build phase. And so we're going to increase the intensity. We're going to add climbing into that. We're going to refine any type of swimming endurance that you have. So there's going to be that steadily increasing volume throughout March through May, both in climbing and in a swimming aspect. And then we're also going to throw in a little bit of intensity. So you need to be prepared as you're climbing up some of the mountains, as you're climbing up the stairs, for your quads to fill up, for your legs to ache, and for you to be able to add that intensity as you're going through those sections, but still have the endurance. So we're going to alternate between high intensity sessions and endurance sessions so that you've got the ability to handle both. And some coaches and some people would think that they're counterintuitive or counterproductive. And that's not the case if done properly. So we can add those high intensity sessions without wrecking your legs, without wrecking you in the swimming, and still be able to build that endurance and have that volume consistently increasing. So we want to make sure that we focus on that terrain that mimics Rockman also as well. So we'll talk to each one of the athletes in the group training program and talk about places that they could potentially go in training that mimics those Rockman conditions. And then from May right up until the race, we get into what we consider a peak phase or peak volume, peak intensity phase. And then we taper for the race. So achieving readiness for the race, making sure that we're putting a little bow on this little present of our fitness and our endurance to get ready for Rockman. And then also reducing that volume so that your body acclimates, your body starts to adapt, and your body starts to take in that endurance that we've given it. And then lastly, right before the race, we're going to mimic race conditions with sessions that combine swim and trail runs and elevation. So we're going to add elevations to your training. We're going to add to the trail runs in addition to the swimming. But we're going to shorten that duration so that we can continue to taper, and we may increase the intensity a little bit in some of those sessions so that you're primed and ready to go. So that's how the Startline Group Ready program is from a high level overview is how it's designed. Okay. All right, so let's open it up for question and answers. Yeah, Katerina, do you want to throw? Do we have any questions out there that you know of?
No, but first of all, I just want to say thank you, Marcus. And then, I mean, you've been sharing lots of amazing things with us, except your face.
Oh,
I know you're sharing your screen now, but can you swap it around so
sure,
we can
sure,
actually
yeah.
see you now that we're gonna have a little talk?
I could do that.
No, but I was just looking at some of the other people here that are not done the race, and we're all going, smiling and nodding. It's like, yep, he's right. And it's, I mean, I've done quite a few swim run races, but Rockman is was something different, and it wasn't. I mean, I spent more than 11 hours out there on that long course, and it was miserable, the weather, and I mean all these great views you're talking about, and it's like we saw absolutely nothing, but somehow I still really enjoyed it, and it's and I mean, and that's what you need to kind of want. You need to want an experience that is something else. I mean, whatever, like you say, nature is going to throw at you that day, you're going to have a crazy experience.
You
And
definitely are.
yeah.
You definitely are. I think we call that type 2 fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Trista, would you call that type 2 fun?
It's definitely type 2 fun.
I'm looking on the live here to see if we've gotten any questions on the live sessions. I've got one.
We just had a few come in on the chat, Marcus. Would you like me to read them out to you? And now we can see your face.
Yeah.
So thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
We have a question around the ballpark number of gels, and I think it's important to note what maybe is different about Rockman is that we don't offer gels on the race course itself. We do have some aid stations, but if you are an athlete, most athletes do depend on gels. We ask that you carry your own, so prepare for that. And that goes back to what Marcus was saying about knowing about how long it's going to take you so that you can prepare your nutrition. But yeah, the question was ballpark number of gels consumed for Rockman finishers.
Gosh, that's something that you've got to answer for yourself, and it depends on a lot on how long you're going to be on the course. So I think that brings up another sidebar question that we got in the live, which is, approximate finish times. So I'll come back to the gel question as part of that. For the approximate finish times of the race, if you've done the World Championships, so for those of you that have done the World Championships, to give you an idea of the difficulty of the race, the World Championships is a 42K? Is that right? 41K, 42K is the total distance of the World Championships course. So this is roughly
80?
half of that. Is it?
80K.
Yeah, so 75 or 80K is the total.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, and I'm trying to do the conversion of miles. So it's 41 miles of running. That's what it is. So, okay. So 80K, this race is a 40K. So it's roughly half the distance. Rockman is roughly half the distance of Worlds. My best time at Worlds is 8:39. So 8 hours, 39 minutes. My best time at Rockman, and the course changes from year to year, but this course that we're doing in 2026 is probably the closest to that. I would think it would probably take me an hour longer, 45 minutes to an hour longer this year. But my best time on the course that's closest to this was about right at 9 hours. So it took me longer to finish, and that was that was my best time at Rockman, and it was a second place finish. So that gives you an idea of the difficulty of this race as it compared to the World Championships. Now, what does that mean to you? If you haven't done the World Championships, you probably still can't gauge that. So think of being on the race as the finishers being around that 9 hour, the winners being around that 9 hour point. And then you're probably going to have people out there for 12, 13 hours. So it really depends on how long you're out there as far as how many gels that you're going to consume. I like to plan on a gel every 45 minutes. I try to consume it every 30 minutes, but it doesn't work for me. So I know that there's a lot of racers out there that shoot for that 30-minute mark, one gel per 30 minutes. I shoot one gel every 45 minutes. So that's the thing that you have to think about doing is how many you're going to carry. I start the race looking like I'm pregnant because I've got gels out to here. But hopefully that answers the question.
I saw that Joanna had her hand up before.
Yes, I have several questions. When do we start? Like, when does the start line ready start? Like, what date? And yeah, that's the first one.
Katarina, I think we've got what, March 4th, is it? That the first actual training day? No, I'm kidding.
Maybe. It's definitely one of the first days of March. Yeah.
Yeah, March. I think it's March 1st. Is what we settled on as far as the training, the first actual training day that gets plopped into your calendar, and that would probably be our first meeting for the athletes that join. We wanted to do this session about 2 weeks out for folks who are still thinking about it.
Is that when we start? Are we getting a training plan or something like that? I'm not 100% familiar.
Absolutely, you will get a training plan starting March 1st in Training Peaks.
Okay. And you were talking about gels. Do we get a drop bag where we can put some gels in and get it later, or do we not have that on the race at all?
That there has been a discussion about doing a drop bag, but I don't think there's been any firm, hard, fast decision made on it. But in the past, there have not been drop bags, with the exception of 2024, where we did the 50K course.
Okay. And
But
I just want to throw it.
Something that's being discussed right now, so stay tuned on that one.
And I just want to throw it out there. I don't have a partner yet, so if anybody is interested on racing and don't have a partner, just let me know. I'm easy, but I'll be ready. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Joanna, I just want to add, Joanna, I think you said you're keen to do the 40K or the 20K, right? So you're open to multiple distances.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. We'll see what we can do. We'll find you someone.
I'm probably not going to win, so I'm just setting that out there. I'm just here for the experience, Joe. So if you want to win, I'm not it.
Excellent. Excellent. Do we have any other questions in the room?
We have a few questions online. There was another question around logistics. How do we generally get from Stavanger City Central to the start line and back?
Yep. Stavanger City Central is where everyone will hop on the ferry. So you'll pick up the ferry in Stavanger Central there at the bay. I could pull it up on a map, but that's something we can discuss later. You will pick up a ferry there at the city, and it will take you and drop you off at the start line. So depending on which distance it is, will depend on where you jump off the boat. And then after the race, we'll have one ferry that brings everyone back to Stavanger City. So our suggestion is that for your accommodations, to pick something in Stavanger. There's lots of Airbnbs, lots of hotel choices there. I don't think that we've picked a particular host hotel or worked out any kind of an agreement yet with the host hotel.
No, just anything there in Stavanger.
Yeah.
And as far as when those ferries will be returning, that should be updated on the website if it's not out there. I don't know the time off the top of my head, but we can get that information.
Yeah, I think it's here under the schedule. So, yep. So the ferry departs for long course at 5 a.m. And then you jump into about an hour and a half later, you jump into the Fantahela. Zoom in there a little bit. And then it will come back to City Center and pick up the short and shortest course, or 10K course and 20K course, at about approximately 9 a.m. and then take the 20K course, drop off at Bakken, and about an hour later, we'll drop the 10K course outside of Florley. So the 10K folks get to see the 20K course start and then get to see a nice see them going across the seaside sprint, which is pretty interesting. And then at approximately 8:30 p.m. local time, we're going to take the Love Boat back to Stavanger, arriving around 10 p.m.
There's a really interesting question in the chat. Oliver
Okay.
says he's planning to do Rockman as his first swim run ever. I feel like Marcus has a lot of experience with Rockman as a first swim run. He's feeling like he's bitten off more than he can chew. I'm here to say you can do it. So Marcus, do you want to talk a little bit about that? And asking specifically, should this be the first or should he target some other smaller swim runs to prepare?
Well, I think a lot of that depends on what your individual fitness and experience has been. So Rockman was also my first swim run. But before that, I had a lot of experience with doing Xterra. So I had lots of technical trail running, a decent amount of open water swimming. But I also had the benefit that my partner who talked me into it had already done the world championships. So he knew what to kind of expect from swim run perspective, what type of training to do to be prepared for swim run. But both of us went into that race blind when it came to what the terrain was going to dictate to us. So we both had a really good time at that race, but he really put me through the ringer when it came to training. So do I think that a person could pick up this race and it be their first swim run? Absolutely. But you've got to prepare for it. And that's what this program's all about, is to help get you prepared for it. We can talk offline if you'd like about your individual fitness background and to see if maybe it might be a little bit too much to have bitten off. We've had lots of people that have done this as their first swim run. And I think that we've had some fairly inexperienced people do it as their first swim run. And we've had a mix of what the result was. So I think that it can be done. You can absolutely do it if you prepare properly for it.
There's a question that I think is very good, Marcus. Is about securities. Like when running on a cliff, how close are we to the air? I don't want to fall down. Sorry, as what to say, Rockman alumni, I just, before you actually answer that, I just want to say that this is the type of race where you need to be able to think for yourself. I mean, the video where people are running close to the cliffs. I mean, that's path that like hundreds of tourists take every day. So it's up to you how fast you want to go, how much you want to risk it. But in general, when you're out in the wild, may it be a race or not, you need to know yourself, and you need to be able to like have a bit of judgment, like, should I hang on a bit extra here or should I maybe slow down? And but then of course, I mean, I know you have safety on the course as well, but that's just something that I really thought about, the people that do this as a first race or are not really used to the like being out in this sort of rugged terrain might, need to think a bit extra about or be prepared for.
Yes. So I'm an American. In the US, when it comes to places like this, everything is fenced in. Everything has a safety chain or a safety rope to prepare or to prevent people from hurting themselves. And especially for the Americans, when they come over and do this race, they are amazed that none of those safety precautions were put into place. Because it is wilderness and it is a very wild terrain, and absolutely you could fall and hurt yourself, and you could die. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. So, but going back to what Katarina is saying is that there's hundreds of thousands of tourists that do these paths every year, and you'd be surprised that no one gets fatally hurt at these places. So if I completely minimize my window, the background screen for my computer is Pulpit Rock. It is Precastolen. And as you can see, there's no safety chains. There's no fencing right there on the cliff's edge. And yes, you could certainly fall and hurt yourself. But you have the ability, as Katerina said, to kind of make your choice of what path you take along that course. You don't have to run right along the edge of the cliff. You can, this is a bad example because I don't have a picture of that path. But do you run right here along this path, or do you go all the way over here where this person's taking a picture and run along there? So you do have some choices of the path that you can take for sure. But as she said, you're kind of responsible for your safety out there and the decisions that you make.
Hi, Marcus.
Hello, Richard. How are you?
I'm fine. Glad to see you, everyone. Hi, Trista, and
Hi, Richard.
And hi, Katarina, that I see for the first time online. I'm glad to see you.
Richard is one of our Rockman alumni. Richard, tell everybody where you're from or where you're at right now.
I am in Tahiti, French Polynesia, right in the Pacific region, and it's a place that you should come and visit one day. And we're doing swim run here too, so I will definitely be joining the long course this year, along with my partner. So we're getting prepared, and I will definitely join the group coaching under your guidance, starting upon March, if I understand well. So just one or maybe one question first about the cutoff. Any informations about the cutoff, Marcus?
Yes, we do. So the only cutoff that we have, or only two cutoffs that we have right now, is there's a 1 p.m. or 1300 cutoff at Brotley. So once you've made it from the start to Brotley, what we're trying to do is to prevent folks, if they can't get there by 1300, there's a pretty good possibility that you won't be able to make it across the fjord to Florley and up to the stairs before it gets dark. So that's one of the things that we're shooting for, is that 1300 cutoff at Brotley. Once you get past, if you get into the water at Brotley at 12:59, you're good to go until you get to Flurley. And then at Flurley, we do have a 4 p.m. Cutoff at Flurley. Now, what you see on the schedule here is there's also a 3:30 cutoff at the fjord crossing. And there's been some discussion if we're going to keep that or not. But as it stands right now, you also have that 3:30 p.m. cutoff at before you actually cross the fjord. If you the thing is that if you don't make that 3:30, if you're getting in the water at 3:30 p.m. before you start that 1600 1700 swim across the fjord, you're not going to make it to the stairs by 1400, or excuse me, 1600. So 4 p.m. So really the two hard ones are going to be that 1300 at Brotley and that 1600 at the bottom of the stairs.
Okay. Well, okay. That's good to know.
Yeah. With your history, Richard, you'll have no problem getting there. You'll be fine.
I think I will be fine. Yeah, but we're gonna train hard and harder this year, especially on the cliffs and elevation conditions. So you're right. The first time I came, I was just trained on flat, like half marathon style of, and it was definitely not appropriate. so I pick up of course, I have a very good partner, probably one of the best, that keep pushing me until the end. But I learned a lesson from that sequence, and definitely the course is not the same, and it's probably shorter, but I don't think it's going to be easier. I remember that for 4,000, well, flirty stairs are just something that needs to be specifically prepared.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Especially,
from when you did it in 2024, where we started at the base camp,
yes.
and you swam across the base camp lake, or you ran around the base camp lake and then swam across it. So one difference between that year and this year is that when you jump into the fjord, as soon as you get out of that swim, it's immediately you got to climb. So
Yeah.
that climbing has to be prepared for that first run is going to be what we consider a power hike. It is very steep. There's several sections of it where you reach out and actually grab a rock to get up it. So it's a very steep climb. From your experience, that would be kind of similar to the hidden path, maybe a little bit steeper,
Yes.
but being prepared for that climbing. Now, once you get up to that lake, you're kind of familiar with the course anyhow. I think that it runs and races better in that direction. So going all the way down to Brotley, I think it races better in that direction. But then the Florley stairs are going to be, those don't change. Those don't change.
Thank you. Can't wait to start the training.
Yeah. Awesome. Do we have anything else out there, Katerina or Trista?
No, I don't see any new questions. Did you pick up something else, Trista?
I don't think so. I think we hit them all. If anyone wants to come off mute and ask a question, that's okay too.
Absolutely. And I know that you have been advocating for more female teams to start this year, Trista. And I think that's something that we should keep pushing for, because I've done the race. I have several female friends who've done the race. And I mean, this is definitely a race that you can do as an all female team, or do it with, a guy, whatever. But it's like in a way, I think, and lots of people that have done long endurance races say that women do it better, because we tend to know ourselves better, and after like 8, 9, 10, 11 hours,
Yeah.
we can still keep going in a way that at least less experienced men sometimes cannot. So I just want to say that, to all of you women in this live now, like you do not need to go looking for a guy to help you through this course. You might be better off with a full only female team. That's my personal point of view.
I couldn't agree more, Katerina. And I think Marcus is laughing because I think he heard me say almost that exact same thing just a couple of days ago. For whatever reason, this race doesn't pull in a lot of females. Right now, I think we only have 3 female teams in the 40K. But I think this course in particular lends itself really well to females. So if you are a female or you're looking for a partner, grab a female, because I think we prepare the best for this race. I think that we go into it doing all of the research and everything that we can to know that we won't fail it. And I think, we're just really strong-minded, and speed and strength matters less with this. So don't be afraid to step up and do it. It's an incredible experience, and there's been a lot of strong females that have done it and can also tell you that you can do it too with the right amount of preparation. I agree. We need more females. Grab a friend, y'all.
Grab a friend. Yeah. So I realized just a minute ago when I was let me pause there. I don't want to change the subject too quickly. Absolutely, everything that both of you said is 100% correct. I have seen female teams do better than male teams because of the mental aspect of being able to handle anything that they throw at you. So absolutely, I love it. A minute ago, I realized that when I showed the schedule that I wasn't sharing my screen. So let me just kind of go back to the schedule for a second. 5 a.m. depart, ferry depart. 6:30 is probably when we're going to approximately start the long course. 9 ferry depart for the 20K. and 10K courses. So you guys get to sleep in a little bit. And then you can see what times approximately you're going to start those races. 1300 cutoff at Brotley, Richard, that I mentioned. And then the hard cutoff at them or 1900, and then approximately at 20:30 or an 8:30 p.m. depart back to Stavanger. One other thing I wanted to share out, something that you were talking about, Richard. I was mentioning the initial run after the first swim for the long coursers. This is what it looks like. So that first run out of the fjord for the long course, this is your trail, and you can see the red T here that you have to kind of follow. This is a picture from last year, and when I said the trails were streams, I was not joking. This is me hiking up that trail after kicking off the long course at Flurley and making my way up towards the finish line. So it's a great course. Love it.
Hey, Marcus, we got a question about shoes. Any recommendations on trainers?
All right.
And then we're at almost time. So
I think, yep. All right. Would not do this race in any kind of a road shoe. Absolutely not. This is the last picture I just showed. You can see that it's technical. You need good grip, especially in wet conditions. The rocks aren't slippery like they are at Worlds or the edge of the sea. You can still get grip on those wet rocks, but you got to have good tread on your shoes. Anything that's really good in mud, anything that's really good on very technical terrain, that's the type of shoes. I still race in the Adidas Terex, not the newer version, the old version, because I still have some of those shoes they don't make anymore. I've raced in those. I've raced in the Salomon Sense Rides. So I'm not sure if those have come out with a new version of that right now, but that kind of tread is what I tend to shoot for from a trail perspective. I also personally try to avoid anything with a lot of stack height. So I know that on the market today, everyone is selling super cushion shoe. Even trail shoes are going into that super cushion type of model. I don't think those are good for Rockman, primarily because I think that, given that kind of a course, and again, I'll go back and share out that screen again. If I show you that screen again of this picture. And can you see that picture, Trista?
it's the same picture, right? Yep.
Yep. So as you can see, it isn't flat, and with high cushion shoes, there's a good possibility you're going to roll ankles on this kind of terrain. So I would pick a smaller stack height on the shoe and something with really good grip and really good tread is what I would shoot for.
Because I think, and important to call out, like you're also going down that picture shows us going up, but that type of terrain you're also descending. So I would agree with that shoe recommendation. Yeah.
We've had some racers roll ankles, break ankles by wearing very tall shoes. Would definitely avoid that.
And if you are into that shoe, just make sure you practice it as much as possible and know what you're getting yourself into.
Yep, absolutely. Okay. Well, we are at time, so I'd like to thank everybody for coming on board. Thank everybody for being here. If you're interested in joining the Rockman Startline Ready group coaching, please let us know. You can hit me up on all the different socials. You can hit up Envol on all their different social pages. And then, of course, if you're joining us via the Envol Circle app or app.envolswimrun.com, you can find out more information about the coaching program here. And then what we'll end up doing is if you contact us and you want to join the program, there is I don't know, Katerina, if you've got the link to the survey that you can throw out there. We do have a little form we'd like for you to fill out prior to joining the program. And so it has all the basic kind of questions of, what's your fitness background? What's your goals? What do you want to get out of this? because we want to make sure that this program's right for you and that we can meet those goals. But it also gives us some information about the number of people that want to join the program. So that's one of the reasons why we did this live 2 weeks out prior to actually starting the training, because we wanted to give you plenty of time to think about it and to ask other further questions you may not do on this live call. So please reach out. I've really enjoyed spending some time with you. Richard, I'm looking forward to seeing you again. I think it's going to be a blast to see you on the start line again.